happy Sunday and good morning. Thank you for joining us on Business Our Way in Women Empowered in Cannabis Supply Chain Group. I'm your hostess, Lele, up here in Humboldt County. And in a few moments, we're going to get to say hello and have a beautiful conversation with one of Cannabis's marketing wizards and brand architects of some of the biggest brands in the industry. So welcome, Luna. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in on your Sunday morning to hang out with us.
Thank you for taking some time out to kind of, Sunday is always supposed to be a time out day, but this is kind of dipping your toes in what we all try to get time out from. What does your typical Sunday look like?
Usually hanging out in my bed with my puppy, watering the plants, catching up on emails, calling friends and family, hanging out with my baby nephew who's about almost a year old. So yeah, I'm a Cancer, so I'm very much about the home and family. So Sundays are definitely the Sabbath, so to speak.
Yeah, it's my day with my kid. We go on drives on Sunday.
Nice.
Really yeah, it is nice. Well, let's just dive in. I always like to start, the plant is such a guardian in our journey. And I always like to start is, how did you come to the plant? Where does your journey begin with her?
I grew up right here in San Leandro, Castro Valley. I was 11 years old in 1996 when Prop 215 passed. So around me, everyone was growing it. I was selling it from an early age and consuming it from 11 on. It put me all the way through my undergrad at UC Santa Cruz, where I studied feminist studies and connected with a lot of stoners there at that amazing school, and worked at SSDP and Normal, and connected with, went to DPA conferences. This was back when I was 18, 19. So I was in California and federal cannabis policy as a literal teenager. And then I got my, my degree in urban education and social justice. It was a master's and a teaching credential from USF. And so taught in prisons and jails and public schools and charter schools for a long time, until I had to go out on disability because I have a degenerative joint disease in my neck. And cannabis just allowed me to work from home. It allowed me to be around creatives. It allowed me to be around other people who had illnesses. And so I realized that, my time as an educator and activist with youth was really special to me, but I realized that it was time to kind of take a detour and move into wellness and medicine, and because it was helping me. And so I figured, if there's something that was a precursor to allowing me to be able to teach in the classroom, whether I was having period cramps or I was nauseous from a pinched nerve in my neck, I was, it's like teaching was so important to me, but the only way I was even able to get to work some days was with cannabis. So I figured, in a weird way, it's like, people are like, how'd you have a master's in teaching and now you're selling weed? It's like, well, to me, the education and the power and the politics and it's so similar, teaching young children how to move in the world and teaching people how to navigate through pain. To me, they're so similar and important that it was kind of a no-brainer. And so I kind of launched my career, and I don't see myself going back. I mean, cannabis is one of those things, and anyone in it, interested in being in it, been in it for a while, knows that it's kind of like, for those of you who've moved to New York or moved to New Orleans or moved to LA, that city will not accept you. It will reject you and make you miserable unless you really want to be there and move with the vibes. Like, you don't just survive in New York or LA or New Orleans. It will eat you up and spit you out, even Oakland in a lot of ways. Cannabis is the same way. It vets you. It sees if you're down for the cause. It sees if you're trying to pimp her out like she's some kind of a hoe, or if you're a greedy green rusher, or if you're actually in it for the right reasons. And so luckily it hasn't bounced me from its streets. It's been pretty and it knows me to be, like you said, I think you said it's a guide, and it's a spiritual element. And I think that, as women, we are not only historically the ones that have, cultivated and led the way, but now that we went from being 30% owned and run in the industry by women, now we're at 3% owned and run in the last 3 years because of corporate cannabis and VCs and consolidation in Canada and all that stuff. So now more than ever, there's a real imperative for us to get together and actually, start we're in marketing, we're the storytellers. We get to talk about the brand. We get to talk about the product formulations. We get to talk about the packaging and if it's sustainable. We get to talk about the effects. And I think that that's something that in a lot of other mainstream consumer packaged goods industries, we're already locked out of. This is our kind of our one chance to kind of bake our DNA into the industry, so to speak.
Yeah, I like that. Ron Doss went to school to be a marketer.
No way. Well, he nailed it.
Exactly. I keep like thinking that over and over in my head, and I think about how much impact we are able to make in this industry in so many creative ways. And the authenticity of the storytelling is such a major part of that, you have been a part of a lot of stories around the plant. I mean, Jetty, I saw Dixie on there. I mean, so you've really seen, the evolution, which not a lot of people, understand, like Dixie franchising for the first time into Arizona. You've seen us go from medical mom and pops in California to giants.
Yes.
What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen besides the obvious?
I would definitely say the difference is, it's like all of a sudden, if the people, I mean, everyone kind of knows this. It's like when you have Chinese folks making Mexican food or Mexican folks making Chinese food, it's not about race. It's about experience. It's like, we got nothing against Chinese folks making my Mexican food or Mexican folks making my Chinese food, but it's not authentic. Like, I don't want a dude that comes from Wall Street telling a manufacturer that they just bought how they should package, market, make stuff. They're cutting corners. They're adding unhealthy additives. They're marketing in dishonest ways. They aren't hiring within the cannabis. They're hiring people that are coming from alcohol and tobacco. So you've got people that have no experience making something. You know what I mean? It's like, no offense, all love to Foria for breaking into this incredible cannabis weed lube, but it's owned and run by a man. And Ebony, a black magazine, owned and run by white folks. Like, it's like I said, it's not about race. It's about who is telling the story and is it authentic. And the word authenticity, the word integrity, the word transparency are thrown around like buzzwords, and no one even knows what it means. And what I say, there's a 1-minute mentors video out there that the Cannabis Minority Cannabis Business Association put out, and it's a 1-minute mentors with Luna Stower. What would you say to anyone trying to get into the cannabis industry? And I spend my 60 seconds saying, don't. If you aren't already in it, if you don't already have some connection, if you haven't been making your own weed stuff at home, if you haven't been growing in the back, if you haven't watched your grandma using it since you were little for her rheumatoid arthritis, if you didn't use it in college a few times, if you don't have friends that have a conversation about it, if you are that new that you know nothing, honestly, you shouldn't be here. I hate to say it, but it's not. It's like someone who's never consumed alcohol working at a bar. You don't know how to vet their dosage. You can't necessarily tell if someone's drunk or not. You can't tell the story about the way that it feels in your body. If you don't have, don't work in a honey factory if you're allergic to bees. For me, I wish that there was a way for consumers to be able to see on the package, this was made by people who give a shit, and this was not made by people who give a shit. At least that way I can make the choice. At least that way, if I'm choosing food, it's like, okay, I can choose this GMO hormone treated milk because it's $2 a gallon, or I could get this, grass-fed, organic, women-grown, locally one for $5 a gallon. At least I can kind of make that distinction myself and know the difference and be like, okay, at least I consciously know I'm saving $3 at the expense of my body or whatever, but at least, maybe my poverty and not my will consents, to quote Shakespeare. So to me, I think that's the biggest change is there's no soul. The soul left cannabis. It turned into corporate cannabis, and it went from being a medical, spiritual thing to a consumer, materialist, packaged good. And there's something that's going to be lost in that.
Or it creates an opportunity for it to be more appreciated. I think that one of the market differentiators down the road is going to be whether you integrated legacy into your business. So you become an innovator and a leader in that product development, in that marketing and branding.
Yes.
Or do you think you can do it all alone? You know, the guys the guys and gals who really think they can like recreate this plant from nothing with no understanding or experience around it aren't going to be the ones that are still standing. You know, they're not going to be the Budweisers of cannabis.
Right. It's ego. It's ego, because it's just like not to gender generalize, but in general, you know, the joke that guys won't stop for directions, but women are just like, where the hell do I go? It's like, because we know the questions to ask, because we are sensitive to it, we are not having a pissing contest. I've never really seen, there's a couple women that I know of that are really in it for themselves, but those are so few and far between, and they're kind of jokes of the industry. There's 3 or 4 women that everyone just rolls their eyes out, but there's tens of thousands of women that I've met that are, you know, so it's like, it's such a huge contrast that they are genuine. I don't know many women who are pushy or arrogant or assume that they know things that they don't know and overcompensate. The men that I'm around, they act like they know, and if they don't know, instead of humbly saying, you know what, Luna, you've been in this space a long time, what do you think? I am shut down, shut up, ignored in so many high-level meetings with people who've been in this industry a fraction of the amount of time as me. They're twice as old as me. They're worth 100 times more than me, and I know endless amounts about what they're talking about, and they wouldn't even think about asking me. And so in a lot of ways, I think you said it right. It's going to shake out the people that are, you know, because I do work with a lot of people that I just described that are coming not from cannabis, that are coming from venture capitalism, that are in it trying to make a buck. But we're smart and loving enough to build me into their team, because they're like, we need a green person. We need someone who gets the plant. And so for me, that kind of absolves them in a way, because then I hire all these other women and people of color. I bring in storytelling. So like you said, it can also be a springboard if you get into the right corporate company and they want you. You know, not all corporations are bad. Money isn't bad. Capitalism doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It's how conscious we are and how inclusive we are. And just hiring a bunch of women or Black or you know, Spanish speaking packagers and BAs is not enough. We don't want token jobs for people of color and marginalized people. We want them being middle management, building their resumes, getting equity, founding companies, getting capital to run those companies. We want a thriving, diverse ecosystem of people, because this plant does best in an atmosphere like that. We've seen it every single time. It's just like monocropping versus a food forest. If you have 17 different varieties in a square mile versus 7, you know, the chances of pests are lower. The you know, the way that the nitrogen goes back into the soil. I mean, the beauty of the plant is it teaches us her ways. And if we model our systems after her systems, we will thrive like she thrives. And that's the thing that women do best, is we see models of dynamic, nuanced life, and we can infuse that into different things. And that's why I love working with women, is because we multitask, we problem solve, we collaborate, we have critical thinking, we're able to bounce back, we have incredible resiliency, we have instinct and foresight. That is something that you cannot buy. I mean, you can buy it if you hire me. Ding. You know, but you better have the money and you better have the respect, and it shouldn't run out. I mean, there's always people that are like, oh yeah, we have $7,000 for marketing. Well, guess what? That's one party and one set of flyers. What are you going to do to keep up your brand as being something that people want to work with? Are you working with doctors and nurses? Are you going to panels and staying on top of research? Are you innovating your products so that they're friendly to people who are old, friendly to people that are, you know, sometimes people create these things that are hard to open. It's like, do you think that, you know, like my little dab jars, like if I had multiple sclerosis or if I had a mobility issue, I would not have access to that medicine. Someone's not thinking about the patients. No one ever thinks about the patients. Look at all these medical states that just turned into recreational. Every single one of them left patients behind. The people who need it the most, veterans, sick people, poor people, homeless people, mentally ill people, cannot afford it. And even if they could afford it, they don't even know how to access the compassion programs or where on the website or what club to go to sign up to get free weed. Like, there's not even that consciousness. I mean, at least with like Obamacare, you're like, okay, I know that I can call my social services agency and they'll kind of, but you can't call your social service agency and say, I have tremors and I want cannabis and all the clubs around me are selling $100 eighths. What do I do? And there's nowhere to, because there's a canna ban on social media. You can't Google, or you can't even search on Facebook. You can't write the word cannabis. So if I have MS and I'm in Iowa, I can't even find this group on Facebook to support me. So there's an active conspiracy against us having this knowledge and this empowerment. So what we're doing right now is revolutionary. You should all be proud of yourselves that you are renegades and rebels in the sense that you are learning something that even in nursing and doctor school, they're not teaching people about the endocannabinoid system. And it's the master of all systems. It controls our endocrine system and our hormone system. Like, we are literally being stolen from and lied to, and this plant is our birthright, not only to consume but to sell and barter with and make money off of, because this plant has been keeping single mothers alive for decades. It's been keeping civilizations alive. The Jews carried it with them through the desert when we wandered for 40 years. They say, that we wrote our constitution on hemp, and that, Jesus was anointed with hemp oil. I mean, these things are in our literal DNA and of our animals. Me and my dog both have endocannabinoid systems. We take cannabis together. We go on a walk. We have fun. Why is that illegal? I don't know. To me, it's like making fun illegal is when we start going down the 1984, like Ray Bradbury, rabbit hole.
And something you mentioned about, our community, our more legacy community tends to have a really bad taste around corporate cannabis, rightfully so. I'm not, but I've always been one about building those bridges, and this plant is so transformative. And when someone like you or someone who like us that really has a lot of experience gets integrates into that space, just like we had so many hardcore East Coast guys come over here to grow weed, and now there's some beautiful really truly community members from that migration, and it transformed them. And I could see how having someone like you on a team like that, it would really help them shift, not just through the, you're kind of pushing forward that plant teachings through that. And that's how I think one of the reasons that she is going legal is to help transform that mindset. But she can't do it on her own. She needs us, our stories, our voices, our brands, and our education out there as well. Now, you talked about a little bit, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I'd like to talk about what are some of these, you have health issues like myself and so many others out there, and you're a woman. What are some of the hurdles that you've been through as legalization has shifted?
You mean as a patient, as a user myself?
Well, in any way that, as a patient, professionally, personally,
everything, it's been hell. Honestly, it's been hell. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's been the most depressing thing. Coming from teaching where you have your principals are hard on you, the people at, your coworkers are catty, the parents hate you, the kids are mad at you, the general public and the media think that everything's the teacher's fault. It's that same feeling where it's like the brand can't catch a fucking break. We don't test for enough things, even though we spend tens of thousands of dollars on tests. The BCC, all they care about is enforcement. They're just cops. They're not worried about making sure that we're licensed and that we're moving. All of the regulations mean that we have to redo our buildings and spend millions of dollars to make sure that the sprinkler system, blah, blah, blah. Cannabis is tested more stringently than food. So if Kiva had an organic blueberry in their hash, the hash passed, the blueberry didn't, and the entire thing got thrown out because the blueberry that they were using had more pesticides than the hash. So things like that are maddening. They're insulting. It shows that there's a conspiracy against us at the highest levels to make sure, because if you think about it, the Bureau of Cannabis Control is an enforcement agency. They are not ensuring the health of an economy. They do not care if a business is thriving. They do not care if hundreds of people in Trinity County are killing themselves or leaving or homeless now because they are third generation growers and they have literally no other identity, friend group, working group, labor skills, organizational skills. They owned their own farm, so they didn't have to go somewhere else and commute. Their entire livelihoods and sense of self and purpose in the world were gone in one day. On January 1st, all of a sudden there's a ban in the county because we allow state local rights. People who are not involved in civics, like the majority, you and I, before I was in cannabis, I worked a little bit in like, police injunctions against gangs, and we showed up to make sure that kids of color could hang out on the corner and not get busted by the cops, or trying to decriminalize certain, drugs, or trying to, anti-prison industrial complex stuff. But but I wasn't really involved I wasn't going to city council meetings every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 1 in the morning where they keep pushing you back and pushing you back. And you have a line out the door of people saying, cannabis saved my life. Please give me my medicine, crying every single Tuesday for 8 hours for 3 years, people crying to these people in tall chairs who they go and leave and go to the bathroom and they'll take a vote. And the one person that was going to vote on our side went to the bathroom and they take a vote. And the entire city has the highest tax rate in the entire country. And 100% of the businesses that were here left or went out of business. I mean, these are things that are maddening. How are you supposed to give your life, your money, tell my parents to invest in the cannabis industry? We all lost money. All my friends and family, I got everyone to invest in the cannabis industry. And because of VapeGate, it all went under. And these are things that we already knew about. We already know people are filling with crappy stuff and selling fake shit on the street. We already knew that e-juice was undoing 20 years of teen vaping or of teen anti-smoking ads on the e-juice side. We knew that the, big tobacco jewel and, these shitty black market vapes were going on. I've known that for 5 years, but because a couple people started dying from it, they threw out the baby with the bathwater, meaning legal, licensed, safe, recreational cannabis vapes that are stringently tested, beautifully designed and safe also went under. So CNN came and interviewed me at Jetty saying that we were the top brand in the top category in cannabis in the state. We were worth $100 million, and 2 months later, he was coming back to interview me about what it felt like to have the massive layoffs. And I was laid off from the first company I ever worked for. They brought me in to the vape space. And for what? They didn't deserve that. Buyers got scared. They stopped buying it. And we went from, millions of dollars a month to nothing because people were scared. Mm-hmm. So you're working in the most fickle industry in the world because everyone's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's like having a lover outside of your relationship. It's like everyone's got their day job. I still have my
I totally feel like this industry has been my lover for the past 4 years.
You're right.
We've broken up.
And it's not even sexually satisfying.
Exactly. You don't get the good parts. It's all a shit.
Yeah, it's just a shit. It's because we've been in it so long, we don't want to let it go. And it's like, we don't want someone else to have it. I'd rather being, this is why I stayed in teaching even when I wasn't happy doing it. I'd rather it be me working with those kids, working with this plant, whatever it is, than the next dumb motherfucker. So, and I feel like it's really our imperative. Like, we have been given this gift of knowing where to fit in. And if you don't know where to fit in, I don't really know what to say to people like that, because I want to be inclusive and I want to be loving, but honestly, this is a kind of a private party. Not everyone is welcome into cannabis. Like, unless you know the way, unless you're a programmer and you want to make an app to make use better, or you're an assistant that loves to just help book travel to all the fun events, or I don't care what it is, but if you don't already have a relationship with the plant, it almost doesn't matter what your history is. It almost doesn't matter that I know about Dennis Perone and Brownie Mary and AIDS patients. Like, it's almost like if someone organically has a if I don't care if it's you waking up to take a bong load at 2 a.m. because you're an insomniac and that's your one way that you consume cannabis, or you brought cocoa, a sample, to your mom's house and she shared it with her friends and it changed their card game. You have something that you can literally mine that energy, transmute that like, you've basically created this chain, and you can send and take information from that to and from the plant whenever you want. But find it, name it, close your eyes, visualize the color of it, the shape of it, the feeling in your hand, and hold on to that tie to the plant, because you are going through a wild fucking ride if you're in this plant. I have a pretty cushy job, but guess what? We're a little canoe on a big ass tsunami, and if you don't know what's going on, you're gonna get your neck broke. And I have friends right now, Somatic, bless their fucking hearts, the most beautiful gay couple, Chris and Chris and Clayton, and they're going under because of an investor backed out. They have the best edibles product on the market. They have a cold brew coffee that they infused with ritual coffee. They met at the San Francisco Small Businesses meetup, and they're like literally the most they're like a blue bottle coffee style thing with like a high-end queer cannabis brand. It's literally a dream. It's packaged beautifully, marketed beautifully. It works really well. The caffeine, the way the caffeine uptakes that. I mean, it is a world-class, gorgeous, successful, well-loved product, and they cannot fucking survive because of a bunch of different reasons. the BCC, over regulation, over taxation. The retailers don't know what the hell they're doing. And everyone, because the regulations change, everyone has whiplash. Imagine trying to be like, I feel like I'm a flight instructor sometimes, and the people that I'm with that are sitting next to me, like, are kind of, they've like, they're like on caffeine or something, and they're driving like this, and I'm trying to trust and be like, okay, they know what they're doing. But it's like, how could they know what they're doing if their lawyer's saying one thing, their mom's saying another thing? They have people that are, you're trying to pay people a fair wage, but you can't even bank. You're trying to build your business, but you're taking money from investment because you can't bank. You want to make money, but the revenue gets taken by a credit card processor because you can't bank. Like, people don't fucking get it. Everything you take for granted as a business owner, anything, even becoming a nonprofit. We gave away 40% of the things that we made for free to cancer patients. We can't even be a nonprofit or claim it. We can't even claim expenses. We can't claim employees 280E. We cannot claim business expenses on taxes. You try being a fucking business where the city is taxing you 10%, the state is taxing you 20%. You get taxed on getting the product, distributing the product. You have to pay the distributor. You have to pay the co-packer to hold on to it. You have to pay the test people to come and it's all in quarantine. Then it sits and gets tested again. Once you put it in the cartridges, you have to test it again after a month. So your shit's sitting there for months. You have to work with a distributor that may or may not know how to sell your product. They probably carry 9 other products that are cheaper and that they might get bribed by. So they open up their coat and you're the last one that they talk about. They might hold on to your shit and not give it back to you. They might lose your money in transport. Some people have been losing, oh, sorry, we got robbed, and $100,000 worth of product is gone. This is happening every day. Like, this is not a joke. This is not a business. It's not an industry. This is a renegade state-run. They are literally pimping us out. They're like putting us out there to like sell ourselves, waiting until we have all the money, and then grabbing us, jacking us, and putting us back out there. We are being pimped by the BCC. We're being pimped by taxes. And where is it going? To enforcement. It is going to the CHP to pull us over and arrest us. It is not going to minority businesses. It is not going to interest-free loans to get people up and running. It is not going to building new parking lots so that people can park their cars and come in and have a nice retail experience. It is literally going to police.
So what do we do the fuck about it? Like, seriously, because you're right. It's a shit show.
Get involved in local politics. We have to work on statute. This is all statute. We voted for this. It was written in the statute, and we can change the statute. So, get a hold of Max at K Street. Follow the city and county band group run by Jackie McGowan. If you want to know anything about policies, there are a group of people in your city right now that are showing up to city council's meetings more than you, and they're probably talking a bunch of shit about cannabis, how the kids are gonna get it, and it's gonna higher the crime rate in our town, which actually we've seen in every city, wherever that there's a cannabis around it, it's more clean, more safe, more parking, more walkable, and more commerce. It is always, so push for more retail, push for more cannabis culture, throw a Tupperware party at your house, hit up one of us, and we'll tell you how to get involved. But it is a fight, and you need to, bring up conversations whenever people are getting drunk or wanting to go meet at a bar, be like, hey, what about like a CBD, like this is, CBD, like a little CBD dab sesh at my house. Like, this is what I bring around. Last night when everyone was drinking at the bar, I had my little dab rig. It's just a little coil, and I hit it, and it tastes like candy. And even the women are like, "Ooh, it's so nice." And I'm like, "Oh, it's a dab." No, you just hit it for a millisecond, you blow it out. It's a micro puff. It's like and every chance I get, I'm destigmatizing it. Every chance I get, I'm showing them that I could be a successful, well-known business person, but I'm a stoner. And what does that mean? It's not like MedMen that's like, "Oh, not a stoner." That whole campaign was so funny. So yeah. And if you see things like that, tell them. Like, for me, I talked to MedMen about that. I said, I don't feel reflected in that. I don't feel like you need to throw one out to promote another. If you see something at a club that you don't like, if you see something displayed in a way, if you see someone, doing sexist marketing, DM them and say, this makes me uncomfortable. I'm a cannabis user and I'm a female, and I don't think that a vape pen between 2 fake boobs on a beach is really going to help you sell that product. It's gross and it's unimaginative. Like, you guys suck. Like, yeah.
Don't buy it.
boycott with your money. But for me, I like to call people out. We've been talking about cyberbullying a lot. Obviously, there's a fine line between bullying and cancel culture. Sometimes people need to be canceled. If someone is doing something like straight up, like at some point ignite, they're canceled. Like if they want to come back and have a new owner and rebrand and be a different company that's run by women, I would accept them. But until we have sexist people running things and creating the narratives, we have to feel very comfortable and very positive and very empowered to create the narratives ourselves.
So one of the big hurdles to a lot of what you're saying the solutions are up here in our legacy communities is that we're exhausted. We've been going to those meetings since 2009. And now we are, like what you described in Trinity County is happening not just in Trinity County, but Humboldt, Mendocino, Nevada. It's happening in all of our rural communities that have been sustained by this plant. How do we get past that? Because we all feel, there's a lot of us that feel pretty broken down and like these the legislation is what it is. And so how can you recommend us getting back to that place where we were at that podium demanding for what we needed?
I'm an organizer. I like manifestos. I like writing and reading groups. I swear to God, I think that we just need to get together. We do enough partying with loud music and consumption. Honestly, let's just get us in a room with a bunch of pillows and chairs and laptops and have a summit and break off into working groups and have like, this is the water rights people. This is the people who know the politicians and want to fucking deal with those assholes. These are the people that are the wordsmiths that can work on PR and can work on journalism and can work on getting this into the press. These are the people that want to be on the ground and want to be a street team and want to petition and want to knock on doors and want to go to the events and want to show up and be social. These are the people that have social media following, that they're influencers. And they're, you break off into a group of groups of five. I mean, how many people are watching this right now? Can you see how many people are?
No, if I look, I'll mess it all up.
Okay. Well, so even if we have 10 people watching, 2 people in each group.
I love that idea. Yeah. That's how we started it up here is we got we had stakeholders meetings.
Yeah. It's like CBA
together. But I think it needs to be more what you're describing, like let's get pillows and sit around and hear each other and listen to each other so we can come to the table solution based with an open heart and not like, oh dude, who's gonna be the king of the mountain, or oh dude, who's gonna
it became a pissing contest and it became a power struggle. But the joke is it was always you versus me, and now it's us against them. The them is the Monsanto. Like literally, it's you're either Monsanto or you're not. Like the us and them has become very delineated and clear. It went from being like you said, like, oh, well, you got a bigger grow, or your trim team's but more badass, or you have more city contacts. Now it's like, we're both fucked, homie.
What do you think about, I had this conversation the other day about the Monsantos of the world. And, my mom was a big Earth Firster, and she left Earth First when they started spiking trees. And when she did that, we had this conversation that really imprinted on me. And it was like, she said, Lainey, you don't fight with fear and anger, you integrate and educate. And so through this process, that's kind of been a lot of my motto. And there's definitely places you just go, oh, not even worth my time. But as I see this grow, I do see opportunities for changing big pharma, for shifting the way we do big ag, for shifting, it's already shifting alcohol. It's already shifting those things. And so I'm always on this fence, and I just, go moment by moment of what feels right, and the person in front of me is how I run it. But what do you think about that? Because that's happening. And in some places I see it being a really positive thing, and in other places I see it just total corporate takeover.
Educate and integrate. I love that so much. It's such a feminine quality, right? That's such a yin, receptive, listening. It's so funny. I've been feeling that with partners of mine that like are male, that are, it's amazing to me how much more energy it takes to puff up and try to be right than it is to just take a breath, listen, and feel into something.
Yeah.
Like 99% of the issues that I'm having are around overreaction, overcompensation, and ego. 100% of it. So I think that that's just something we all need to manage and deal with in general. And God, you really got me with the spiking of the trees, because basically what she's saying is do I want to cause harm to others to make sure that harm stops?
Right. Right. Or how do you really stop harm? Do you do
Right.
more harm?
I waffle, like, and I also agree with what you said.
I do too.
Yeah, and but no, but honestly, the truth is what you said, which is it's you need to be conscious, present, and wise enough and intuitive enough to take every baby step as it's in front of you. Like you said, the way you run it is it's whatever's in front of you. That could not be more vague and right on at the same time. It's like the answer is that there is no answer. All you can be is prepared in your heart and your mind so that you're tuned in enough to know in that fucking moment. The same thing as that flight instructor metaphor. It's like, if you wait 1 second too long for that student to do the wrong thing, you're fucked. So you need to pull up to let them know, hey, you should have actually pulled up a little bit more right there. Like because you and I and other people who are awoken to this have that. It's like when a parent yells at a kid. It's like, of course you fucking know better than the kid. It's a kid. Why are you yelling at a kid? Or even with my parents, I'm like, you're 70. Why am I, as 30 years old, who knows psychology, 36 this year, who understands psychology, understands early signs of dementia, understands all these things, and I see you doing these things and I'm yelling at you because you're annoying me, when really all I need to do is know in my mind, I expect you to play this role. You are going to be the funny, neurotic, overbearing mom that's going to get me gifts I don't want, is going to feed me when I'm not hungry. Who is crazier, you to do that for 68, 9 years of your life, or me who is getting angry at you for being who you are? And so I can keep getting mad at these corporate shills for trying to hit on me and thinking that I'm a brand ambassador all I want. I'm consuming my own hatred for them, and it's ruining my mood. So I'm just what I do is I just have pity and sweetness and unconditional love, and being like, how sad you haven't woken up yet. I have a little bit of time. And like you said, sometimes they're not worth my time. 80% of the time I'm like, I got other shit to do. It's like being at a thrift store. It's like going through all this stuff to find the one cashmere sweater that you'll wear forever, but it took you 20 shills to find the one good thing. It's like Ross. You're like, okay, there's got to be something on this rack. And that's how it is at it used to be the opposite. Back in the day, you'd go to a cannabis event and it was 98% amazing and 2% weirdos. Now it's, 90%, I don't know, let's say 80% amazing, 18% corporate, and 2% weirdos, but the 18% corporate has 90% of the capital in the space. So you're still around great people, but none of them are making money. None of them are they're just having cultural influence. They're not really, a lot of people that we know and love a lot. Like I happen to have made my business monetarily financial, feasible. But the people around me that are that are just like me have absolutely nothing to show for this. They have no investments. They don't have a good job. Their brand's not doing well just because of how the industry is going. So it depends. Do you want to be a cultural supporter of cannabis, or do you want to actually get in the industry where people are going to be making millions and billions? It's like, you can always be this. You can always be helping with policy. You can always be helping in a consumption lounge, being on the retail level, working with patients, and just ignore what's happening in corporate cannabis. It's still going to trickle down. You're still going to see it in the packaging and the media. But it's like, if you are a warrior and you know how to speak to those in power, get on their boards, talk to them about sexism, talk to them about racism, talk to them about the war on drugs. I was built to talk to people like that. So for me, I'm not this open and candid all the time with them. I'm a lot more sugar-coated. Like you said, I want to integrate and educate, and no one wants to be talked at or lectured at. And I was raised by New Yorkers and Scorpios, and they both are highly educated, and I'm very verbal, and I have a very assertive nature to me. So assertive is different than aggressive, right? So whether it means taking classes on active listening, doing some work around public speaking, persuasive speaking, reading some books around sales, doing the thing that's crazy is a lot of us ride on our laurels, and I do it probably more than anyone listening, is I know what I'm good at. Even me becoming an English teacher, I only became an English teacher because I knew I'd be good at passing that test. And so I just did the easy way. Same thing is like, I'm a copywriter. It's easy for me. Do the things that are not easy for you. Learn the accounting side of the business. If you're not into numbers, if you are on that side, go with a brand ambassador and see what it's like to talk to someone else, or do something that's, whenever you're like, oh, I don't want to like go on the farm and fucking like deal with the soil. If that is your reaction, you need to fucking go spend a week on the farm and deal with the soil. Like, go into the discomfort, lean into that, because that's where you're going to grow. And in that moment of growth, other women and other people are going to see that, and it's going to inspire them. And that's the only way we're going to move forward, is with like, the problem with no one making money and this industry crashing is it's been the death of innovation. And America is dying in the global world right now as far as tech and mechanics and intellectual focus, because other countries are focusing on integration and education, and we are not. So being the Americans we are, I think that we need to do a little bit better job of self-learning.
Yeah, well, you know, that's something that I just haven't even thought of in those words for the legacy industry. Is that's one of the things that makes them such innovators, is because we did have to self-learn everything. I talk about the broken pipe on the hill, and you can't go to the plumber or the Ace Hardware to get a new pipe. You just have to figure out to fucking fix it, or your plants die because it's 115 degrees out.
Necessity is the mother of invention, and that's why fucking hill folks grow the best weed, because you have to work for that shit. You sleep there under the stars, shitting in a bucket with your dog and your shotgun and whatever fucking canned foods you have, and a Jenny that may or may not be working in the pouring rain. Like, hats off to Humboldt, Trinity, Mendocino, like Lake County, like all y'all. I see you. I've been up there. It is real. You did it. You paved the way, and now you're getting shat on, and it's absolutely unfair and wrong. And we should absolutely have an Emerald Cup. I feel like is a very much a bastion of this. Like, look at this, showcasing our blue ribbon farmers and produce, and you guys are literally the heartbeat and the blood of this industry. And I don't care what anyone says, we need to be pushing that all the way to the forefront. That's the other thing. Find OG Eddie Lepp is still around. Follow their page, promote them, get him on a podcast. Like, Dennis Pearl's partner, John Entwistle, get him. Wayne Justman is still around. He just celebrated his 75th birthday. Like, get in touch with an OG, get involved with veterans, Ryan Miller of Operation EVAC. They do educating veterans about cannabis. Show up to a meeting, hand out free cannabis to veterans. They do 4 meetings a week across the Bay Area in San Jose, Sacramento, Oakland, San Francisco. They might maybe up in Santa Rosa. Like, there is so much cool stuff going on. That, I feel like it's kind of like for people in recovery, it's like, if you are of service to other people, if you're a mentor to other addicts, or, in that case, it's like, you're a sponsor, a sponsee, you show up and you make coffee, all these things keep you sober, because you feel this give and take of someone needs you. And if you are operating, it just goes back to find your connection to the plant, and your vibe will attract your tribe.
So as marketing is a really big conversation right now up here, do you have any, and you're you're really such a brilliant marketer and brand architect, do you have any really quick points for those legacy farms to help push themselves forward as far as how they can brand and market and in these communities?
Yeah, get in touch with someone in your community, especially if they're on any social media, has a college kid or a millennial that knows how to run social media and can help you put together a Weedly website. I did my own website. If you go to lunastower.com, LUNASTOWER.com, I made it myself on Weedly. So I did it. I didn't even watch any videos. It's very simple. Like, just set aside some time to get, ask an artist in your life, hey, can I pay you a few $100 and trade you some weed for you to do a really beautiful logo? Have them create 10 of them, send them out to all your homies, have them vote on it and choose a logo. Just give yourself a logo, give yourself a name, get a website up, get a social media following, and the rest is golden. Show up at your local sesh, so show up at your local farmer's market, and you will, even if it feels small and it feels weird that you're exposing yourself, everyone's doing it. You're going to be fine. Obviously, everyone's got security culture. Be careful about how you're moving in the space and where you're tagging things, and making sure that you're just being smart about, giving just enough information, but not enough for someone to harm you. Cannister series, Filigreen, Northern Nights, Outside Lands. These are all little pop-ups and dinners and concerts where they ask for small Northern California brands to show up, and it's not prohibitively expensive to do so. Anytime you make $100, set 10 of it aside for marketing. Give yourself a 10% tax for marketing. Hire someone that has consumer packaged goods experience, that has sold into a Whole Foods, that has sold into a cannabis club, that is going to tell you, who knows what consumer research sounds like, hey, this jar is too bulky. I already know off top it's hard to open. Like, get feedback from the people around you. Get a good jar, get a good website, get a couple of people who are connected. And that's pretty much all you need. If you can't tell your own story, sit down, smoke a joint with someone who can write it down for you and make it pretty. There's going to be some millennial out there who writes really cute captions. They're a copywriter. Whoever in your life writes good Facebook posts, literally ask them to do you a favor, pay them a couple $100, give them some weed or whatever you need to do, and say, hey, can you and I just get on the phone or meet up in person, and I can just blurt out to you all the things that I love about my company, and you could just make it pretty for me? And they'll be like, yeah, of course. Like, I could do that. Anyone could do that. So just love yourself enough to delegate a little bit. A lot of us have founder syndrome, especially us. Like, it's my brand, it's my weed, it's my thing. Like, I want my face on it. Like, no one wants another white dude, another white dude brand from NorCal. It should be friendly to women. We're 60 to 70% of people shopping in cannabis. We're 60 to 70% of people who are interested in topicals and CBD and things, an alternative. Even if we're purchasing for a man, the woman is still purchasing, okay? So if you're trying to sell online or in stores, those are majority women. And they are between 30 and 60 years old, my age group, your age group. So if it doesn't appeal to someone like me or someone like you, it's probably not going to sell that well, unless you have, something like Blue River Terps, where it's like 25-year-old white dudes are spending $100 on grams, and that's 90% of their business, and all they deal with are dab dudes. And like, that's fine. That's their brand. But most brands, you don't want to market to everyone. That's the other thing. A lot of people just try to be like, oh, this is going to be for everyone. No. If you have a little sublingual spray, if you have flour, if you have this or that, actually flour might be the only thing you can actually, but if you're, if one of the biggest untapped markets is, the Tri-Valley area, Livermore, Dublin, San Ramon out here in the 925 east of Oakland, where it's like suburbia, that's disposable income. That's the right age group. That's they're all on wine and opiates out there. They're looking for something to get off of their soccer moms. So they are not going to buy flour. They might, if it comes with a really cute rose gold pipe. They might, if it's delivered to them really discreetly. They might, if they saw it on Goop, if some celebrity endorsed it, they'll get Whoopi and Maya. They'll get a Whoopi Goldberg product for sure. But are they going to buy your like legend emerald grown blah, blah, blah? They don't fucking know what emerald is. They don't know what sun grown is. They don't know what organic or indoor or sativa indica hybrid is. How are you integrating into the new user's lifestyle? That is 90% of who is buying, and they are spending 9 times more than your dude who's got $25 and wants the mid-grade eighth. Like, if that's what you want to sell is mids all day, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you are what I'm imagining your community up there is growing, big, beautiful, well cured, well flushed, well fed, well packaged, hopefully well packaged goods, you want to think about how that is attractive to a busy working mom. Literally.
Yeah.
I don't need, look at this shelf. When I have no time, do you think I'm going to grab this and roll it up? Or do you think I'm going to grab a pre-roll? You know what I mean? Why would I want to sit here and have to roll this, and then I have to get my papers, and then I have to light it with the thing, and then I have to like this, like Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance. Do you think a woman is going to want that? I love them, but they're a bunch of veterans in Santa Cruz. They're a bunch of white bros from the military. I love them. This is a great product. I would not buy this. And I'm the one spending $200 on a basket size. And the veteran is not the veteran who goes in and buys that, they're probably getting that. That's the only thing they're getting. They're probably getting a 10% off veteran discount, and they're walking out. So it's no hate. There's a spot for everyone in this industry. But if I'm trying to actually save my farm and scale, you better brand to someone that you might even be annoyed standing behind at the grocery store. hate to say it, you're in the consumer packaged goods world now. I hate to say it. It's like, or you just stay super, take the Etsy approach where you like, you know, and I even recommend people to stay underground, to be honest, off the record.
Well, this isn't off the record, so.
Well, you know, off of my official, like, I want people, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to tell anyone to break the law. I want people to do what's right for them. And I want people to, you know, I have white privilege, so I can say that. But however, the people that I have seen who have kept their sanity and kept their self-respect and kept some of their money, honestly, it's the ones that didn't buy in. The ones that bought in got fucked the hardest because they gave up all their information. Everyone knows about them. They're the ones that paid all the fines and the fees and the licensing permits and the applications and the non-refundable this and all the gas going to and from meetings and the lawyer bills and the SOPs and the consultants and the time and the mental health issues and having to take vacations because of stress and losing relationships and downgrading lifestyle and the last few years just being depressing and probably an uptick in cannabis and alcohol and other drug use. So it's been very expensive to become, to try to be a good boy and girl in this situation. So not to say that those things and those stresses didn't impact the underground community, because like we said, there have been suicides, people have gone under, but at least they're on their own terms. At least they didn't get, at least they got fucked, but they didn't fuck themselves.
I have to totally, in so many ways, disagree with you. I've been around this black market industry since the day I can remember. And I have been under severe oppression. I have been violated in every way. I have had a gun to my head. I have had someone try to take my child. You know, when you're living in these communities, there's a lot of violence and negative impact from being oppressed by a drug war. And what legalization should be doing, and so I will agree with you that legalization is a shit show right now. But what it should be doing, like as if we were vets coming back from a war, is empowering us so that we can share that information and that our natural technologies around the plants with this new big industry, so it does grow and heal and transform. But I really think that, you know, when you talk about these pressures and legalization, it has been really hard. But what we've been through for my lifetime is even harder. You know, driving down the road with 100 pounds because you got to feed your kid and you're really fucking stressed out. And if something goes wrong, you lose everything. Is a little harder than going, fuck, I'm losing everything and I got to pay my taxes. You can strategize around those taxes. You can build partnerships. You can create relationships. I think what's hurting us the most is that we're not doing that. You know, we've disconnected. And as a legacy community, what created us was that interconnection and that communication and trust system. I think the people, I'm one of those people. I was at the gate on December 31st, 2000, and I think it was 16, in Humboldt County before the state even approved. And I've lost everything but my child. I've lost my roof. I live with a girlfriend. You know, I've lost everything. But those permits are almost done. And I feel so proud of myself and the other people that went through it with me. And what we're going to be able to create out of it is amazing.
High five.
So I see all these early risers, early to markets as fucking warriors. And if we stick through it, we're going to be all right. You know, we just have to get back together again because we have all the pieces.
Yes.
You mentioned that in marketing, you know, it really is like going back to the potluck. What do you got? Bring it, and then we have a feast.
Yep, it's stone soup.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that book, Stone Soup. You just put the stone in the water, and all of a sudden you're eating. It's so fucking beautiful.
Yes, and that's what the plant empowers. You know, that's why we are here, is because she wants to infiltrate with all that great medicine and all those teachings. In these communities, I think more than the plant and rebranding the plant, that's what they have to share. Is that legacy, that information, that education, the knowledge around not just the plant, but that kind of community building, because our world's just not doing so well, and we managed to do really well under severe oppression. I just want everyone to remember that. I'm sorry.
Resilient as fuck. Resilient. Yeah, that's what I always say. People are always like, how you doing? And I'm like, well, I can complain, but no one wants to listen. And at least I'm 6 feet above ground and not 6 feet under. If you're still here, it's a good day.
Yep.
You know?
Amen.
Yeah.
So what would you say real quickly to someone who is, I mean, earlier you said, don't get in. If you don't know the plant, don't get in. But, you know, we have a lot of women in this group that are just stepping in, and I feel strongly that what we have a great responsibility to ensure that those women understand those values and build and create by those values. So what sort of advice would you have to give, besides you might want to reconsider because it's really fucking hard, to those women?
I would definitely say go to a meetup. Go to an Elementa, a Women Grow, a Toke Activity. Come down and do Tolly Eisenberg's senior education classes so you can talk to your elders. Go to meetups, cannabis meetups. Once you have your community and your crew, the rest is so simple. You know, Facebook groups. This is a great place to start. Feel free to DM me. I'm totally a resource to everyone. Please check out my website because I do have links to a lot of cool events that I've done that will connect you to other really cool, things as well. You can kind of bounce off of it and see other things. Yeah, I would just say have fun with it. Go socialize. Like I've been to 5 cannabis events, photo shoots, pop-ups, launches, parties, consumption lounges, and a holiday party like in the past 3 days. I've been to literally half a dozen, and being in the Bay Area really helps, but definitely get on Do the Bay, get on eventhigh.io is cannabis events. Eventbrite doesn't really do too much. Sometimes you can if you're not doing any consumption or sales or anything, they will let you list. ConsciousCityGuide.com is another good one. Just keep posted. Maybe we can do like an events page on WEIC. We could do something that's like a suggested. Also, I would really recommend for folks of color, women of color, Supernova Women is a really great educational organization run by a bunch of activists of color, Black and brown women here in the Bay Area, that was really meant to bring women into the space. So if you identify as WOC, definitely hit them up. Nina Parks, Issa Marie Perez, Raven Duckett, they're all business owners. They're all been in the game for, over 5-10 years. They really know what they're doing, and they volunteer. It's not really a for-profit, but they work with whoever reaches out. Also really recommend coming anytime that there's an event. You got to be there. If you can get into a Hall of Flowers, Emerald Cup, marijuana business conference in Vegas, if you can go to the State of Cannabis in Long Beach, if you can go to New West Summit, ICBC, International Cannabis Business Conference, you can usually get a scholarship or a press pass. If you tell them that you're press or you're blogging, you can usually get a for free. So don't be scared away by the $400 or $500 ticket prices on some of these things. You can usually get a hookup or just, send it out on this group and say, how do I get there? Because the amount of networking that you could do in 1 or 2 days can change your entire career. That's the most important thing. Indeed.com lists a lot of jobs. And even if you don't necessarily get the job or want the job, I would highly recommend reading through those job descriptions and going to these interviews and talking to them. Even if you know you're going to tank, you're not qualified, just get on an interview with them, have them look at your resume and go through the boot camp of what it means to get into the industry and be like, oh shit, they really want to work in car because I have to drive around all the time. Or, oh shit, they really want me to have a social media following, I should get on that. Or, oh man, they really want me to know Excel, I should probably take a quick course. Like whatever it is that you want to do, just like kind of peep it and do some informational interviews with people that are currently in that job. I use Instagram DM all the time. I've built my career on Facebook and Instagram DM and LinkedIn. my entire career. I get headhunted through there. If your LinkedIn looks really good, you can easily share it. It's like a resume and a website in one. That's my best advice for anyone trying to get in.
Great advice. Social media really helped me. Being on it early with cannabis has been a great asset for sure.
Nice.
So one last question for everybody. What do you see coming up for 2020 around the plant?
Oh man. Well, first of all, time space continuum doesn't exist. So this whole 2020, I only think of it as like the Gregorian calendar of like sessions and dates for Congress and the city and the state in a weird way. I'm like, it just makes sense for like periods. But I feel in this this rotation around the sun. What do I feel? Honestly, I'm sitting, I never made predictions like about, I'm a big Warriors fan about who is going to win either. I feel like it feels ingenuine to even imagine it because it's so up in the air. I can see it going one of two ways. It can either continue going downhill where all these big companies are going under and the BCC is losing faith, not only from the vendors, but from the consumers. And we really find ourselves in, even that kind of splits itself because it's like we kind of want to compost the empire and kind of go back to where we were. And in some ways we'll never go back to where we were because in a good way though, because a lot of these underground folks professionalize, they got good packaging, they have a relationship with the lab, they know what their consumers want, they understand distribution and how to move. So we professionalize the underground and then put them back underground. So there's something magical about that was really kind of put them through boot camp, through in a certain way of business boot camp. Or we see the MedMens and all these big guys dropping off, and that composting leads to a resurfacing of really good policy that allows for more licenses to come up. And that's what I'm hoping for, is that we're really going to see the resurgence of women's voices, the resurgence of people of color, that some of these more righteous causes are going to take more effect, and people are going to really wake up and see that we need to do this right.
Yeah, I'm feeling that vibration in my little world, that I'm seeing a lot of people finding themselves again and their strength and their beauty. And because we've been through this, making really strong, healthy decisions for themselves. I'm seeing the other two, but I just tend to want to bring closer to me the first part of it. Well, thank you, Luna, so much for taking time out on a Sunday and all the goodness and great things that you do for us in this industry. I greatly appreciate it. And any last words you want to say to our audience?
Smoke weed every day.